Red Cloud, the Oglala Lakota warrior who defied and defeated the U.S. Army. On the wind-swept plains of the American West, where the horizon seems endless and the buffalo once thundered in uncountable herds, a legend was born, a leader whose name would come to embody resistance, strategy, and dignity. His name was Red Cloud, and he achieved what no other native leader in the West had done. He won a war against the United States. The making of a warrior. Red Cloud was born in 1822 into a world where the Oglala Lakota roamed free across the Great Plains, following the buffalo herds that sustained their way of life. From a young age, he proved himself as a fearless warrior and resourceful raider. In the Lakota tradition, leadership was earned, not inherited, and Red Cloud's courage in battle, wisdom in counsel, and generosity to his people soon set him apart. But change was coming fast to the plains. Waves of settlers, gold seekers, and soldiers advanced relentlessly westward, threatening the delicate balance between the Lakota, the land, and the buffalo. When gold was discovered in the mountains of Montana in the 1860s, the flow of fortune seekers quickly turned into a flood, carving trails like the Bozeman Road straight through the heart of Lakota hunting grounds. For Red Cloud and his people, this was not only a violation of treaties but a direct threat to their survival. Red Cloud's War, Strategy, and Defiance. Red Cloud quickly recognized what was at stake. While some leaders urged caution or negotiation, Red Cloud united bands of Oglala, Minneconjou, and Brule Lakota, as well as Cheyenne and Arapaho allies, in open resistance. The years following the Civil War saw a series of fierce battles and raids, as native warriors fought to defend their territory from the U.S. Army and the ever-increasing tide of miners and settlers. This conflict, known as Red Cloud's War, was more than just a series of skirmishes. It was a sustained campaign of resistance, marked by strategic brilliance and an intimate knowledge of the land. Red Cloud and his allies harassed supply lines, ambushed military patrols, and laid siege to forts that dotted the Bozeman Trail. He refused to be drawn into open battle on the Army's terms, instead using hit-and-run tactics and psychological warfare to wear down his opponents. The Fetterman Massacre, turning the tide. The pivotal moment came on a bitterly cold December day in 1866. Red Cloud orchestrated what would become known as the Fetterman Massacre, or the Battle of the Hundred in the Hand. Using decoys and coordinated attacks, he lured Captain William Fetterman and a detachment of more than 80 U.S. soldiers out of the safety of Fort Phil Kearny and into a deadly ambush. Not a single soldier survived. The scale and decisiveness of the victory shocked the U.S. military and made headlines across the nation. It was the largest defeat suffered by the Army on the plains until Custer A.'s famous downfall at the Little Bighorn a decade later. More importantly, it sent a clear message. The Lakota, under Red Cloud, would not surrender their land without a fight. From warrior to diplomat, Red Cloud's war did not end with a bloody last stand, but with a diplomatic triumph. For the first time, the U.S. government sued for peace on terms dictated by a native leader. The Fort Laramie Treaty of 1868 closed the Bozeman Trail, abandoned the Army forts in Lakota territory, and affirmed the sovereignty of the Great Sioux Reservation, including the sacred Black Hills. Red Cloud, ever the strategist, understood that victory on the battlefield needed to be consolidated in the council chamber. He became a tireless advocate for his people, traveling repeatedly to Washington, D.C., and meeting twice with President Ulysses S. Grant to press for the fair treatment of the Lakota and the fulfillment of treaty promises. A complex legacy. After 1870, as the relentless tide of expansion continued and the buffalo disappeared, Red Cloud faced new challenges. He witnessed the erosion of treaty rights, the rise of reservations, and the heartbreak of seeing his people's way of life under constant assault. Yet he continued to lead with dignity, refusing to sign away the Black Hills, insisting on the importance of education for Lakota children, and reminding the world that his people's voices must be heard. Red Cloud died in 1909, outliving many of his contemporaries and seeing both triumph and tragedy. His legacy endures not only in the history books, but in the spirit of the Lakota Nation, a testament to courage, resilience, and the will to fight for justice, no matter the odds. Red Cloud's story is not just that of a warrior, but of a visionary and a leader who, against all expectation, bent the arc of history. The echoes of his defiance and diplomacy still roll across the plains and remind us that even in the darkest times, resistance can win the day.